Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Reese part number 372A. This is an automatic door bottom with a vinyl insert and a mill aluminum finish. This is a specific automatic door bottom that is used exclusively for hollow metal doors that feature an inverted bottom channel, or any door for that matter with an inverted bottom channel. Aluminum doors typically have inverted bottom channels or hollow channels, but hollow metal doors have an inverted bottom channel that would be compliant with the actual physical dimensions of this item, meaning the underside of that inverted channel is 3/4 inch or quite close to thereabouts. Now, not every manufacturer has inverted bottom channels with a compliant depth. If you were to put your fingers underneath and reach up under it, there are some that have significantly higher depths of the inverted space, top and bottom, as a matter of fact. And some of those manufacturers, one in particular, will tell you that they like to manufacture it that way because the person in the field who's doing the installation work likes to be able to have additional room should trimming need to be done on the bottom of the door. And obviously that is a perspective of someone speaking from an installation standpoint. However, the majority of hollow metal door manufacturers do not have a double deep inverted bottom channel at top or bottom. There is an image down below this video that will show you you can see from the image down below this video that shows you the dimensional properties necessary for that inverted bottom channel to be compatible with, so that this door bottom works well. And that would be a 3/4 inch deep channel, giving you a 5/32 of an inch dimension for the vinyl to hang down. And this is going to give you a maximum drop of 1/2 of an inch. And that would work very well in terms of a 1/2 of an inch drop. From the bottom of the door, you'll be at 0.5 or 1/2 inch maximum drop, and then you're going to be 5/32 for the vinyl. So you're going to be able to cover an additional 1/8 of an inch. Well, an additional, just heavy on 1/8 of an inch. So if you have a hollow metal door with a typical 3/4 inch undercut, and then you have any threshold, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, this will work very elegantly. Okay, and this type of automatic door bottom, when you have hollow metal doors, is the elegant way to go because it's thoroughly concealed when it's installed. You'll see no evidence of it whatsoever, with the exception of the small preparation that you'll make in the heel edge of the door for the adjusting bolt to project out and through. Very elegant solution. Now, automatic door bottoms come in different types, such as surface mount, semi-mortise mount, full mortise mount, and then you've got this type that goes into a hollow metal door. The principle of an automatic door bottom is one by which, when the door closes, basically the drop seal, or the automatic door bottom, drops to seal the bottom of the door automatically. The principle by which it does this is that there is a feature to the one side of the unit, and it's, by the way, it's typical and common that the vinyl insert is going to run long. It always does. You will want it to run long so that you can trim it to the exact space that you will find best suited to seal your area. Okay, so that's normal that it looks like that. Take note of this end where you do not see, it's all hollow here in the end of that. Take note of the opposite end where you'll see this adjusting bar. Okay, the adjusting bar is going to project out of the edge of the door, which means you will certainly have to drill a small hole in the hinge side of the door for that adjusting bolt to stick out. And the principle is the amount of projection of the adjusting bolt is directly related to the amount of drop when the door closes. When the door closes, and this is installed and is projecting out of the hinge side, and this is only ever installed on the hinge side, no other side, this will, when the door is closed, have no direction to go but in, and as that bolt is pushed in, it will compress a flat spring in the apparatus itself of forcing it to drop. Now, I'm unable to push that with enough force to get that to operate, but if I place it on my desk, I can get it to come out like that, as you can somewhat see in the camera. But it takes too much force than what my hand can produce to get that to drop. Using your mind's eye, when that is compressed or pushed in as the door closes, it makes contact with the jamb. That adjusting bolt is sticking out of the edge of the door. As the door closes, it begins to make contact with the jamb. As the door is pushed fully closed, that goes in, compresses the flat spring, forcing the bottom to drop. Okay, and the way that this works is that the one end is going to drop. Forgive me, I'm getting myself situated. Unevenly. It drops unevenly, which is normal, because one end, when it drops unevenly, will make contact with the sill, then the rest of the bottom will somewhat knife down and seal the bottom of that off, the bottom of your area off. Now, this item is adjustable in the sense that the amount of projection, as I mentioned earlier, is related to the amount of drop. So when you initially install it, if you'll notice that there is a slot there, you want to turn that in and just have it project out of the door so it's making hardly any contact with the hinge jamb of the frame, and then begin to test the operation, and then back that screw out counterclockwise, let it stick out even further so that you can adjust, so that you can test and observe, and then set the projection so that it makes contact with the threshold down below. Now, speaking of the threshold, it would be best if you had one that was perhaps smooth. This is not a bristle type insert on this unit, and would be best used where you did not have a textured or fluted threshold top. It would be best used with something that would be smooth in nature. If you had an irregular surface, it might make it a challenge for the vinyl to fit inside of the irregularities of that threshold, so keep that in mind. There is, so the amount of projection of the bolt, as you observe, back that out a little bit, make contact with the threshold, and that's all. Don't back it out any further. It doesn't seal better. All it does is additionally compress that flat spring inside of the unit, such that when you go to open the door, the flat spring will need to decompress before it starts to lift, causing you to drag that bottom across the floor. So contact only, because you don't want to damage the unit whatsoever. Very elegant solution. So when you do your installation, really, once this is cut to length so that this fits within the space of the inverted bottom channel, you'll only have to mark and then drill the hole for the bolt to project out through, and then you will pre-drill all your mounting holes, as you can see as I tip that back or up and down, and the screws for that installation are included as well. Okay. Now, the 372A is available in several different lengths in the website. And before we get to the different lengths, there is a link below this video to the product brochure. That product brochure is going to allow you to review all of the automatic door bottoms from Reese, which is a very handy document. You're going to see on page 2, or the second page of that document, where this 372 is. Specific application, inverted bottom channels that are 3/4 inch deep. The length, the standard length, if someone were to order 3 foot, the factory would generally send it at 35.5, because as you take your hollow metal door and lay it down on sawhorses and then measure the inside dimension, it's certainly not going to be 36 inch, and it will not be 35 3/4. That inside available space will be much more like 35.5. So we've listed the item in the site at both 36 inch and at the natural 35.5. So be aware of the fact that it can be ordered in either length, but if it's a 3-foot door, you'll probably want the 35.5 version. However, I suggest that you measure the door and then you order the exact size you need so that this fits neatly within the inverted space, because you've got the thickness of the steel on the edges of the door, and that will take up the difference from 35 3/4, if that's the natural size of the door, the actual size, and the space within underneath. I suggest that you order the actual size you need and save yourself the trouble of cutting anything other than the vinyl, because the factory's building these two per order, and there's really no reason to engage in additional work, in my opinion. Let them cut it. They're going to cut it to something anyway. They can cut it to what you need. Understood that you might not be able to go to the job site and measure all these, and your installer will do it. I understand that. And then measure the nominal size. However, when you get into scenarios where you have smaller units, there are times when they cannot be field trimmed whatsoever. But generally, you're going to be able to trim a 3-foot unit up to 2 inch. Units like this that are smaller than 3 foot and down to 2 foot, you should be able to trim them the same. When you get, according to the manufacturer's data, from 18 to 24 inch, you cannot trim them. So is it possible you'd have a pair of 2-foot doors on fire escape to stairwells in a building built in 1930 in Chicago? Yes, that's very common. You could have that, and you're going to want to elegantly seal those. So you might have to measure them, is the point I'm driving at. And once you get the method by which you get the correct size that you need, is simply order the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field the net length that you want us to cut it to. If it was me, I'd probably take the inverted space and I would deduct maybe 1/8 of an inch, because you know you're going to have extra vinyl length there. And it looks awfully flat at the end, and the image from the factory shows it to be much more bulbed out. But as you can see from underneath, that when that's trimmed down, it will take its natural sort of shape by being curved underneath to give you a bit of compression there and an increase in surface area is what I'm trying to say. Now, I find automatic door bottoms to be exceptionally elegant because when the door is in the closed position, they're automatically sealed. There's nothing to see in a model like this. But the elegant part comes in when the door is opened. The bottom, regardless of it being this inverted bottom channel or a surface mount or a mortise mount or a semi-mortise mount, the bottom, which drops, the drop bar, snaps back up into its housing. That's elegant because it will allow you to contend with a scenario by which you aren't dragging a door sweep across a floor. Or let's say if it's a residential application, and while you certainly most likely would not use a 372A, you could very likely use the 321C, a residential version of the bottom. You can have, when you enter, let's say, the garage of the home, the attached garage, door swings in, fire-rated door, so you want to order it specified as fire-rated. The housing snaps back up because you're going to have a rug on the inside of the door to wipe your feet when you walk into your home. So automatic door bottoms are elegant because they don't contend with a sweep dragging over anything, or real-world experience where people leave shoes behind the door, and then you open the door and you hit the shoe and you tear the insert. Automatic door bottoms snap back up into the housing, and they stay tucked away, not involved in any sort of unintentional contact. And they seal when the door is closed. The only disadvantage I find with some models, such as this, or a fully mortised model is that line of defense is underneath the door. I would prefer to have my line of defense to the furthest point outside the door as possible. So the point, what I'm trying to make is, by this time, you're sealing, but the material, the water, let's say, is already partially under the door. What I would suggest that you do for applications like this is that you would simply install a drip cap, and that will help drive the water away from the face of the door. And nobody really would think about that except someone who sells weather stripping, I suppose, or the real savvy installer. Lots of applications have automatic door bottoms where they swing into the space, so that helps if it's a surface mount because that line of defense is already pushed far out. But in a mortise or a inverted bottom channel, keep that in mind. But their advantages are very obvious, and I think very elegant. Another elegant aspect of them is that they're incredibly long-lasting. You're not dragging your seal against anything. It is simply making contact. So there's no friction involved, just pressure, so that will give you a long-lasting sort of expectancy on the installation after you've got it working. Okay, finally, there is also, almost finally, there's a link. There's also a link below this video to a document called Installation. It's a very simple and straightforward document. We've covered most of it already, although this will give you the particulars that I will quickly go over here. It does state what can be trimmed, and I am corrected. Anything lower than, smaller than 36 can only be trimmed up to 1 inch. You should be okay if you ordered a 32, if you had a 2.8 door. You should be okay with a 1 inch trim on that, but keep that in mind. 18 to 24 can't be trimmed. 24 through 36 trimmed 1 inch. 36 and above can be trimmed up to 3 inch. Cut the bottom 1/8 of an inch shorter than the door. I'm going to say that that's the space on the inverted bottom channel. Drill in the center of the hinge edge of the door, drill a 3/8 hole in diameter for the screw to come out. The center of this 3/8 adjustment screw should be 1/4 inch below the bottom of the inverted U-channel as illustrated above. Alright, so basically they're saying it should be the 1/4 inch below the bottom of the inverted U-channel as illustrated above. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. What are we talking about? Well, the dimension from the top of the unit to the center line of this looks to be 3/8 of an inch. So I'm not understanding the 1/4 inch dimension. Step 3, position the door bottom in the center recess, pre-drill your holes, install the screws, hang the door, adjust the drop on the door to be compatible, again maximum 1/2 of an inch seal, operate the door and test is step 5, etc. This is compliant with fire-rated code, so that there's no trouble with installing these on fire-rated doors, and you would be permitted to drill that small hole for the adjusting bolt. Now, below this video are items that would fit the bullet points of the extended description that will give you everything. Dimensionally, this is indeed 1 3/8 wide, so that's going to fit elegantly into your 1 3/4 thick door. Lastly, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can review not only all of the Reese products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Reese, number 372A, inverted bottom channel, hollow metal door type automatic door bottom, or any other Reese product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.